Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7 now today. Got some more content update for you guys, but not just any content update. This time around, we're going to be diving into the second part of the Epic 7 7th anniversary festivities, and boy oh boy do we have a lot of news to cover. So starting off strong, we have Genesis Roz getting revealed, and the most important thing about him is that he is free. That's right, all we have to do to obtain copies of Genesis Roz and his imprints is do some missions, and now these missions will be something that you might need to work towards, especially for newer players. You gotta invest a little bit into your account to get strong enough to be able to clear them, but the great news is that he is obtainable for everybody, so that is a huge win. Moving on, if you want to see Genesis Roz along with his skills and kits and his entire first impressions review on him, do be sure to subscribe because we will be covering that tomorrow in a separate video. But moving on next to the other changes that are coming, the first one being gear. This is a game that requires a lot of gearing, and with that, people have wanted improvements to the system. So finally, we are going to be getting gear presets, but not necessarily a traditional gear preset. We're going to have ones where you can essentially save multiple copies of builds onto a single unit, and you can change between those saved builds at any point, right? You're essentially reverting to a previously saved version of that character, which is cool. We'll see how it works out in practice. Now, coming in with that, it's going to be a pretty expensive process to always switch gears, especially that rapidly. So free unequip is now going to be permanent, starting on August 28th. So that is amazing. Look out for that in a couple weeks. The next thing we have on the list is equipment. A lot of gear is just too much to sort through, right? So Epic 7 is now releasing an auto sort and auto recommendation for gears. This will help people clean up any hoarded gears and stuff that they have in their inventory. I know I am personally very guilty of that. Now, when you enhance gears after this update, there will be recommendations for heroes that can use said piece. So whenever you add a plus 15 to a new piece, they're going to be like, hey, it's going to be good on this, this, and this unit, and it can potentially help you with suggestions. These changes will be coming by the end of 2025. When it comes to teams though, building teams, they are going to be implementing dedicated team slots, and they will be issuing a Skystone refund if you added additional teams to your own custom team list if your account is less than a year old. But that is really great for all PvE content, just to have their own dedicated team slots, and we don't have to play around with any of those ourselves. Speaking of team slots and going into PvE content, well, Spirit Altars are now going to be available full-time starting August 28th as well, so no need to wait for specific days to farm specific runes. The next portion of the update is all about reducing stress and fatigue, and they're starting out with actually adding more things for us to farm, but we'll get to the details of the stress and fatigue in a bit. When it comes to farming new sets, they're going to be releasing 2 of them. The first one is called the Reversal Set, which is a 4-piece set that gives you 15% speed and a 50% combat readiness push when you revive. This is going to be pretty decent on units that run Holy Sacrifice, or even on like Ruel of Light, for example. The second set that's going to be released is called the Riposte Set. This is also going to be a 4-set piece, but it grants your unit a 70% chance to counter if you successfully evade. So this is a huge boost for evasion units who have been kind of thrown to the wayside, you know, aside from Afternoon Soak Flawn and maybe New Kid Aiden, but this is actually a great boost for them as well. They did mention that there will be more new sets coming in the future with due time, and they will be making more new units who will benefit from these sets as well. I can't wait to see what they make to synergize with the Reversal Set. Now, with these new sets means new farming methods, and the way that they're going to alleviate the farming with this is they're going to implement a new mode called the Otherworld Breach. These sets will only be obtainable from there and not from hunts. To access the Otherworld Breach, you need to get Spectral Core currencies to enter. and that actually costs 160 energy to redeem for one of these currencies, and you can only redeem this with energy up to 3 times a day, or you have unlimited exchanges if you use 2 leaves instead. So with an increased cost for entering this mode here, they're actually going to be tripling the equipment drop rates to that of Hunt and Rift, right? So this is going to be essentially 3 times more efficient in terms of drops, just has that higher energy cost, so you don't have to enter it as many times. Now, when it comes to the equipment drops here, they're going to be dropping something called Otherworldly Epic Equipment. They're not going to be exactly the same as regular Epic Equipment. It's going to roll the same, essentially, but 2 major differences. One, they're not going to have flat stats, which is absolutely amazing. And the second is that these pieces of gear cannot low roll. So I'm assuming it's going to be like a mid to high roll on every single piece, which is absolutely fantastic. It's going to make gearing so much easier, and it's going to be make farming for the new sets a lot faster too. So you can gear your units how you want properly and jump straight into the action. Now, to balance this out, hunts seem like they're just going to be a worse option than going for the Otherworldly Breach, so they're actually adding an Otherworldly difficulty to the hunts. They will still use Spectral Cores in order to enter, but you will not be able to get crafting materials or other currency drops, so no random bookmarks or no random Mystic Metals going to be dropping from your runs here. The equipment drop rate is also going to be twice of that as before, so it's going to be a 15% increase. All of this is going to be implemented in the September 11th update, so that's less than a month away, so we better get ready for that. Save your leaves especially for this update. Speaking of all the gear and the farming, where are we going to get the inventory space? Oh, Smilegate, that's where. They're going to give us 200 extra equipment slots for up to 900 total in our inventory, which is going to be absolutely amazing. Not only that, they're also increasing the energy cap from 154 stamina to 360 if your account is rank 70. This will actually make it a lot easier to convert your energy to spectral cores because it costs 160 stamina to get 1 spectral core. Another thing that people have been talking about is with all this influx of equipment, we're going to need charms and gold to enhance them. So Smilegate is going to be implementing and bringing back essentially charm and gold dungeons, which we used to have early in the game's lifespan, but they took them away at some point. But it's good to see that they're going to come back so that we can farm some more charms. So with these incoming changes to hunt difficulties and the new mode as well, Ogre's Armory is going to seem a little bit more obsolete. Now, they don't have any concrete things on what they're going to change. All we know is that improvements are going to be on the way. Now, as for things that will not change, 15%, also known as absolute resistance in this game, is not going to be going anywhere. They've stated that there's no plans to remove it at all, but they will be adjusting systems in the future for PvE content to essentially soft remove it from certain content. So for example, they've been doing it a little bit with like the Rift controller and the Blessing of the Stars, when you're doing Rift and you're doing Trial of Constellations respectively, to try to get rid of that RNG, because it can be really frustrating when we lose and it's not really our fault. Really quickly though, for the rest of 2025, we have a brief roadmap of things to come. In October, we're going to get something called a Phantasmal Barrier Story. Don't know what encompasses that, but more details of all of this will be on the way once they have more things fleshed out. And there's also going to be a Guild War tournament that's held to kind of celebrate the Guild War side of the game and not just the RTA side here with the Epic 7 World Championships. In November, they're going to be implementing the Monolith Showdown, which is going to be PvE content, but we don't really know any details about that either right now. And last but not least, in December, we are promised a new 6th World episode. So that is going to be something fantastic to look forward to. And hey, maybe you'll carry around some new characters that come with it too. Moving on, we have the Super Cake event that's going to be implemented. It's going to be server-wide participation, and there's going to be a ton of rewards that come with it, including unknown slates to imprint your characters, bottles of knowledge for artifact imprints, and elemental summons as well. On top of that, we're also going to get a limited 900 Mystic Metals that you have to use within the event period or else they disappear, and 6,000 energy on top of that. And after all of that is said and done, if you clear the final mission, you will be able to get a 5-star Moonlight Boss Selector. So that means you get to choose from one of these 5, either Zio, Harsetti, Archdemon, Bellion, or Straze. That is quite a list, and all of those units are very viable. Of course, moving on, we have a couple of other small minor changes that are still pretty impactful that are coming our way. The first concern is Molagoras when it comes to the community, and it seems like Smilegate is going to be implementing more ways to get Molagoras, although they did state that they won't be an infinitely farmable resource. So you will be able to get it through Trial of Constellations and other new events that might pop up in the future. Speaking of currency, when it comes to the coin shop rotations, Smilegate's also going to allow players to choose from any characters released before a specific cutoff date. This will actually make it so you don't have to wait months and months and months for a unit to appear in the coin shop rotation, and you'll be able to get them so much quicker and be able to build them up for whatever content you need them for. When it comes to events, people like the in-game events that are going on, but a lot of people want more offline events. So on top of the Epic 7 World Championships, we're also going to be introduced to the Epic 7 Orchestral Performance. In fact, tickets go on sale August 19th, which is in a couple of days. However, it's Korea only, so unless you live in Korea or can fly to Korea to attend, it's not really going to impact us, unfortunately. So as a global player, feeling kind of left out. And I'm feeling even more left out because Korea is getting a collaboration with eMart24, where they're going to have all these products that are themed for Epic 7 that's going to be on sale in their stores. And not only that, but you can obtain some pretty cool rewards like stamps and such too. I am super jealous, but they did mention that global collaborations will be in the works for the future. Now, speaking of collaborations, an actual collaboration is apparently in the works. They teased at it, but they said that they can't say anything more. So fingers crossed that we're going to get something soon, but hopefully it's going to be something good. And last but not least, let's go ahead and summarize everything that we can see going forward into 2026. So the main thing that they've noticed is that throughout the years, the time that people are spending in Epic 7 is increasing as the number of rewards are also increasing. And the problem is people have finite amounts of time to play the game, and a lot of people are just overwhelmed with the total amount of time they have to dedicate to all the chores that are associated with this game. Right? So in order to reduce repetition, they are looking towards potentially increasing the energy cost per run, but then also giving you more rewards while we're at it. So instead of going into a hunt 3 times, maybe they'll triple the energy cost of hunt, but then also triple the rewards that we get from it. So that could actually be pretty cool. The second thing that we're seeing is that they might actually adjust PvE and PvP content that requires really heavy investment and that are really challenging to be less so that there's less of a pressure to try to claim all the rewards. Now, when it comes to that, they are saying that they will kind of reduce the difficulty of PvE, but at the same time, they're not necessarily making it easier. They're just going to encourage more creativity when it comes to approaching the content, and it's going to work more like you're trying to solve a puzzle, right? They want you to use a wider variety of heroes, and they might implement things like elemental restrictions and mechanics changes in order to see certain heroes being used over others. People can see this as like kind of a pay-to-win sort of thing, where you need to have certain characters or you can't do it. But I think the community is pretty creative in terms of coming up with solutions to that, so I don't think that's too big of a concern. I think the biggest concern is just giving players things that are easier to do, that take less time, so people can jump in and out of a mobile game, and 2, giving people rewards so that they actually feel incentivized to keep logging in. They did also mention Acolyte Raid, but we don't really know much about that besides that it'll use and showcase a lot of Epic 7's mechanics. Next up is going to be something for PvP, and it's going to be a real-time minor tournament system. Nothing here is finalized. This is just stuff that they're kind of throwing at us for a potential roadmap for the next year, but they are looking towards a weekly real-time PvP system, so kind of like RTA, that is open to everybody, and they're going to try to do matchups that are random draws within each league. The thing they want to emphasize is that this is not just going to be for the top players. They really want this to be something that's available and accessible to everyone of any rank to participate in. They also hinted at a potential arena update coming later down the line, but no details have been revealed. And last but not least, they have some story changes where they realize that the early stories and the later stories, they don't really combine together super well, and some are way more in depth than others. So they're going to go back and actually restructure the main episodes, and they do require a good window of time to get this started. So they need to plan 6 months in advance. I think that's just them warning us that they're probably we're not gonna see a whole ton of new story content for maybe 6 months until they get all this stuff fleshed out, which is okay as long as it's gonna be better and an improvement in the long run, right? And the last thing that they did mention is they want to do this thing called season marks, where they want to give characters more of a focus when it comes to their own personal side stories. They want to flesh out the lore and such behind all these characters as well. So I would really love that. The lore is something that is really deep in Epic 7, and even though I don't follow all of it, I do follow some of it. And it does really bring the world alive. It really brings the entire story together, especially the 6th world. I think they really knocked the ball out of the park with that one. So engaging, and even I had to sit down and read and listen to all of the stuff that was going on there. So yeah, anyway, that is the entire update for Epic 7. Everything you need to know in hopefully a bite-sized video, so you don't have to scroll through the VODs. If you like this and you want to see more, please do consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, take care.